Hey, boys and girls. The story of Joseph is quite an epic tale, isn't it? Wow. Sort of reminds me of something. Let's see. He went through trials and tribulations. Well, I was reading this commentary, and it said something about how one of them said how he's like a foreshadowing or like a prediction of the coming of Jesus. But that is in the story of Joseph. Let's see, is it in the Old Testament or the New Testament? Oh, you knew. That's right. It's in the Old Testament. The story of Joseph is in the Old Testament. I put on my reading glasses and we're going to do some screen sharing. All right. This is our third lesson, our third fall lesson. And the name of it is Love Should Not Hurt. And it's for September the 20th, 2020. And you are in Miss Gabby's class. And I am so happy to see you. Now, do you know some people who do mean things to others? Or have you ever done something mean to somebody? And it just eats you up on the inside because your conscience is bothering you. And on TV, they have a little angel on one shoulder, a little devil on one shoulder. And the little angel is supposed to be telling you, you know that's not right. That's your conscience. And sometimes it eats you up, I know. So there's something like that going on in this story. And we're going to see it, boys and girls, in the rest of the story of Joseph. Let's see. Love should not hurt. Today's lesson, the scripture comes from the lesson scripture is Genesis, somebody's saying it out there, 42nd chapter and the 6th through the 25th verses. The key verse is, Reuben said, "Didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an accounting for his blood." And before we go any further, boys and girls, you know what we have to do. I'm going to count to 3. Then you can stop the video, pray, and then you can come back when you're done, okay? 1, 2, 3, stop. All right, boys and girls. I hope you had a nice talk with God. Let's see. We're going to look at the story from the source, and that is from the New International Bible, from which is the NIV Bible, Genesis, the 42nd chapter and the 6th through the 25th verses. Now, Joseph was the governor of the land, the person who sold the grain to all its people. So when Joseph's brothers arrived, they bowed down to him with their faces to the ground. As soon as Joseph saw his brothers, he recognized them, but he pretended to be a stranger and spoke harshly to them. Now, I want you to understand, too, that this is 20 years later. So I'm sure they've all changed, but Joseph has probably changed the most, and his brothers don't recognize him. Besides being in Egypt, he's speaking another language. "Where do you all come from?" he asked. "From the land of Canaan," they replied, to buy food." Although Joseph recognized his brothers, they did not recognize him. Then he remembered his dreams about them and said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see where our land is unprotected." "No, my lord," they answered. Your servants have come to buy food." "We are all the sons of one man. Your servants are honest men, not spies." "No," he said to them, "you have come to see where our land is unprotected." But they replied, "Your servants are 12 brothers, the sons of one man, who lives in the land of Canaan. The youngest is now with our father, and one is no more." Joseph said to them, "It is just as I told you. You are spies, and this is how you will be tested. As surely as Pharaoh lives, you will not leave this place unless your youngest brother comes here. Now, if you remember, Jacob sent the brothers to go get the food to buy the food in Egypt. But he did not send the youngest brother. I read one commentary where it said he probably suspected those other brothers had something to do with Joseph's death, or Joseph's supposed death, because remember, he also watched them and understood that they were quite jealous of Joseph. Send one of your number to get your brother. The rest of you will be kept in prison, so that your words may be tested to see if you are telling the truth. If you are not, then as surely as Pharaoh lives, you are spies. And he put them all in custody for 3 days. On the third day, Joseph said to them, do this and you will live, for I fear God. If you are honest men, let one of your brothers stay here in prison, while the rest of you go and take grain back to your starving households. But you must bring your youngest brother to me, so that your words may be verified, and that you may not die. This is what they proceeded to do. They said to one another, surely we are being punished because of our brother. We saw how distressed he was when he pleaded with us for his life, but we would not listen. That is why this distress has come upon us. Reuben replied, didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an accounting for his blood. They did not realize that Joseph could understand them, since he was using an interpreter. He turned away from them and began to weep, but then came back and spoke to them again. He had Simeon taken from them and bound before their eyes. Joseph gave orders to fill their bags with grain, to put each man's silver back in his sack, and to give them provisions for their journey. After this was done for them, do you have this book? Well, if you don't have this book, don't worry. You'll be able to understand it from this video. First, we're going to go over the words to know, and that, with the lesson story, will make the scriptures easier to understand. The first word is Canaan. That's an area in Bible literature in the olden days. It was centered in Palestine. It's the original pre-Israel inhabitants were called the Canaanites. And Canaan, according to the book of Genesis in the Hebrew Bible, was a son of Ham and grandson of Noah. And he was the father of the Canaanites, the ancestor, the starter. A good sentence is, we came from the land of Canaan, they replied, to buy food. The second word is grain. We had that one last week. A cereal, a crop like wheat or corn. It's harvested to use in trade. It's little tiny bits, like little seeds and things. Those are grains. We think of corn, we think of wheat, we think of rice as cereal crop or as grain crop. Sentences, if you are honest men, let one of your brothers stay here in prison while the rest of you go and take grain back for your starving households. The key verse, Reuben said, didn't I tell you not to sin against the boy? But you wouldn't listen. Now we must give an accounting for his blood. Genesis, the 42nd chapter and the 22nd verse. Love should not hurt. Joseph had become the governor of Egypt. His brothers came and bowed before him, not knowing it was him. Joseph pretended he did not recognize them. They told him they came from Canaan to buy grain. Joseph remembered his dream and accused them of spying. They said that 12 of them and their father lived in Canaan. They explained that their youngest brother was home and one brother was gone. Joseph would send one of the brothers to get the youngest brother and put the others in prison to test their honesty. They were all kept in prison for 3 days. Later, Joseph said that one brother would stay in prison and the others would return home with the grain they needed. They were to bring their youngest brother so Joseph would know that they were being honest. They realized this was happening because of what they had done to Joseph. Reuben said that they would die because of what they'd done. They did not know Joseph understood what they were saying. Joseph left and wept. Then he returned and ordered Simeon to stay behind. He filled the other sacks with grain and secretly returned their payment of silver. Now, the questions for today's Bible story. Why did Joseph's brothers travel to Egypt? Oh, right answer. The famine had reached their land, so they went to buy grain. And as we remember in our definitions from an earlier story, famine is days without food, possibly due to drought. Droughts keep plants from being watered and growing and producing food. How did Joseph's brothers treat him when they met him in Egypt? That's right, just as he had dreamed and told them, they bowed down before him. They did not recognize him. Now, in one commentary that I read, it said that Joseph also had to spiritually mature. Even though he had a gift from God, God had to prepare him. He took him through a lot of trials and tribulations, and when he was able to, he was not thinking about revenge. What did he do when he saw his brothers? How did Joseph greet his brothers? He pretended not to recognize them, and then he accused them of being spies. Now, if he had not been spiritually mature, he could have kept them in prison, had anything happen to him because he was in charge, right? But what did Joseph do to his brothers when they left to return home? Yes, he gave them the grain for their families, and he secretly returned the money that they brought to purchase the grain. Now it's time to complete the sentences. This is in your book. We can do this together. You can stop the video and fill in the blanks. All right, the words in the word bank are bowed, prison, where are my glasses? Recognize, secretly, and understood. These words are to go in the blanks. The proper word to go in the blanks. Joseph's brothers, number one, did not blank him. Joseph's brothers did not blank him. What goes in the blank? The best. Correct. Recognize. Joseph's brothers did not recognize him. And number two, Joseph's brothers came and blanked down before him. That is correct. Just like he dreamt, they bowed down before him. And number three, Joseph ordered his brother Simeon to remain in, yes, in prison. Simeon was to remain in prison. And number four, Joseph blanked everything the brothers were saying. Understood. Number five, Joseph blanked, gave his brothers back their payment for the grain. Yes, he did it in secret. He secretly gave the brothers back their payment. Let's see, now it is time for the contemporary story. We have a cartoon called Broken Promises and Hurt Feelings.
Broken Promises and Hurt Feelings. The contemporary story for September 20th, 2020. Sierra and Miriam were best friends. They spent all day at school together eating lunch and having fun during recess, and at the after-school program they both attended. They were so close that they told each other everything. One day Miriam told Sierra a secret. She made Sierra promise not to tell anyone else. Miriam could not read as well as the other kids in class. The letters got mixed up and were hard to understand. Sierra told her best friend that it was okay and she would help her after school. But Sierra did not keep her promise not to tell. When she heard some of their classmates making fun of Miriam in class, Sierra told them her secret. Not to be mean, but to stick up for her best friend.
How could you tell them? You promised you wouldn't. I'm sorry, Miriam. I only wanted them to leave you alone.
But it was too late. Miriam was hurt. Sierra did not mean to betray her friend. Would Miriam ever forgive her?
What do you think? Do you think Miriam would forgive her friend, Sierra? Do you think that she should forgive her? Do you think Miriam was wrong for telling the other kids that she had a problem, even though she was trying to defend her in a way? It's a good discussion to have among each other. Here are questions for the contemporary story. What did Miriam tell Sierra? Yes, she told Sierra that she had trouble reading. What did Sierra do that hurt Miriam? Sierra told some other kids about Miriam's problems after she promised that she would not tell Miriam's secret. Did Sierra mean to hurt Miriam? No, she thought she was helping to defend her. Let's see. We're going to unscramble and define these words. Let's see if you can tell what the first word is. All right. Yes, the first is famine. Did you figure that out? What is a famine? Oh, that's good answers. Some people said that people are starving in a place and there may be a drought and stops food from growing. There is a shortage of food, in other words. The second word, did you figure that one? Who has that one? Okay, guess a little more. That's right, it's governor. Governor is just like it says, it's someone who governs a part of a country. In our country, it's a state, and that was what Joseph's job was. The number 3, did you get that one? Payment. Payment. It's almost all together there, isn't it? And the next one is, oh yes, something that Joseph did when he put the silver in the bags of grain for the men. And that is correct. It is secretly. And number 5 is, yes, what was Joseph's gift? It was a dream, to dream. Okay, let's see. So if you have these in order, here they go. Famine, governor, payment, secretly, and dream. Now it's time
Hello,
for
everyone.
Ruby's Lab.
Ruby here. Can I let you in on a secret? I once shared the results of a secret experiment with a friend who promised not to tell anyone. But guess what? He told someone else and I couldn't believe what he had done. When it happened, it seemed like a disaster. But later I calmed down and realized that it wasn't the worst thing that could have happened. While I was disappointed in that friend, I forgave him. We have worked on several experiments since, and we are still friends. Though that type of betrayal hurts, it can be forgiven.
A review of Fall Lesson 3. 1. The brothers went to Egypt to find food for their families in the time of famine. When Joseph's brothers appeared before him, they bowed just like the sheaves in the dream he described to them earlier. Joseph loved his brothers and worked to forgive them. His tears showed us that he missed them during their years apart. When they were imprisoned by Joseph, not knowing who he was, the brothers wondered aloud about this being payback for their mistreatment of him.